The wind screamed through the narrow street, carrying dry leaves in swirling eddies across the cracked pavement. The house stood at the end of the block, separated from the others by an overgrown yard and a leaning wooden fence, its slats blackened with rot. The porch light flickered weakly, casting long, broken shadows across the warped steps. Olivia hesitated, staring at the peeling paint on the front door before reaching for the knob. The door swung open before she could touch it. The couple inside moved with urgency. The woman's eyes were sunken, her hair unkempt, her hands trembling as she shoved a wad of cash into Olivia's palm. The man hovered near the window, shifting from foot to foot, his face pale and drawn. Neither of them met her eyes. Their movements were mechanical, practiced, desperate. They gestured toward the stairs and toward the boys' room, their hands lingering for a second too long, as if debating something unspoken. Then, without a word, they were gone. The door clicked shut behind them, leaving her alone. The silence swallowed everything. The house was old, its air stale and heavy. Olivia dropped her bag by the door and stepped cautiously into the living room. The furniture was sparse, outdated. The coffee table was bare except for a thick layer of dust. The clock on the wall had stopped at some indeterminate time, its minute hand frozen in place. The heat was on too high, making the space feel suffocating. She sank onto the couch, pulling out her phone. No notifications, no service. She tapped the screen absently, listening. Nothing. The quiet stretched on too long, pressing against her ears. No hum of a refrigerator, no distant murmur of a heater turning on, no ticking clock. The house felt abandoned, despite the fact that she knew someone was here. Then came the smell. It was faint at first, something sour, like spoiled milk, left out too long. She wrinkled her nose and glanced toward the kitchen. Maybe something had gone bad in the sink, or maybe the trash hadn't been taken out. She ignored it. Minutes passed. The smell thickened, turned putrid. It seeped into her throat, clung to her skin, the unmistakable stench of decay. She shifted on the couch, suddenly restless. Something about the house felt wrong. The air was too still, the silence too absolute. She turned toward the stairs. The couple had told her their son was asleep, that she shouldn't disturb him, that she didn't need to check. She took the first step. The wood groaned under her weight. Another step. The house held its breath. The hallway stretched before her, dim and narrow. The peeling wallpaper curled at the edges, exposing brittle wood beneath. At the end of the hall, a single door stood slightly ajar. The smell was stronger here. She pushed the door open. The air inside was thick and wet, suffocating. A single nightlight glowed weakly in the corner, casting long shadows across the small bed pressed against the wall. The covers were pulled up high, concealing the shape beneath. The room was cold, too cold. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the blanket. The second she pulled it back, the breath left her lungs. The body beneath the sheets was small, contorted. The skin had lost its color, stretching tight over the delicate bones beneath. Lips curled back in a grotesque grimace, exposing tiny, clenched teeth. The eyes were open, sunken, clouded. The flesh had begun to darken, peeling away in places where moisture had bloated the skin. The sheets beneath were stiff. Dark stains stretched across the fabric, dried and crusted with time. This wasn't fresh. This had happened days ago. A wave of nausea rolled through her, bile rising in her throat. She stumbled back, her breath coming too fast, too shallow. The walls of the room seemed closer than before, pressing in, suffocating her with the thick stench of rot. They had known. The parents hadn't hired her to watch their child. They hadn't left for a night out. They had been running. Her mind spun, every nerve screaming at her to get out. She turned, nearly tripping over herself in her rush for the hallway. She barely registered the way the air in the house felt different now. Thicker, heavier, wrong. She had to leave now. She took the stairs too fast, her foot slipping on the last step. She caught herself on the wall, gasping. her fingers scrabbling for balance. She was almost to the door, her hand reaching out. Then she heard it, a sound from behind. Not from the room, not from the corpse, from the front door. A slow, deliberate click. A soft shuffle of movement echoed from the front entryway. The sound of slow, deliberate breathing followed. The air in the house seemed to tighten, growing thick and suffocating. A shadow stretched across the floor, long and distorted in the dim glow of the street lamp outside. Olivia's pulse pounded in her ears. Someone had been waiting, not for the parents, for whoever was left behind, and now she was exactly where they wanted her to be.